Novelist and short story writer Bongani Blake forces us to tap into the deepest part of our imagination with his latest book, Jimmy and the Giant Insects. In this offering, he takes us on a fairy tale journey of a boy called Jimmy who is kidnapped by cruel flies and taken into an unfamiliar world that's full of monsters with enormous flapping wings. Now we welcome the author to the book to have a conversation about his latest read. Bongani, thank you so much for coming on to the show. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you for having me here.
Now, this is your second offering. What inspired Jimmy and the Giant Insects? It's quite a unique concept.
Well, I loved reading, fairy tales, fantasy fiction, books like Tolkien's The Hobbit, books like The Wizard of Oz. So I felt that there was a shortage in the African market of books like this, like Jimmy and the Giant Insects, like fantasy books. So then it came about this way. One day, I was just seated, and then a friend of mine from Vets sent me his novel, to give him a feedback. And then it felt serious for me, like it's a story about a young man of 20 who is kidnapped by, officers into the future. So I felt that the story was too serious, too serious for readers. Like, I felt that, fiction, if someone wants to read something, they just have to enjoy it. So, like, I felt that it was too strong. So I started telling him, man, you don't have to write something so serious, so strong, especially if it's fiction. You just have to tone it down, make it light, And then I said, oh, okay, why don't you write something like this? A young boy is kidnapped by, an old man is kidnapped by, insects. And then they take him to their country and all sorts of, terrible things happen so that people will just laugh. And then that's how the story came about, really.
Now, the book starts off with Jimmy, his kidnapping, but he thinks he's in a dream. Little does he know. Tell us about how the story unfolds from there without giving too much away. So Jimmy is dreaming, he thinks he's dreaming, he gets kidnapped. Where to from there?
Well, I cannot tell you exactly what is going on. Well, what I can really tell you is that Jimmy is kidnapped by flies into their distant country where they have this, they believe there is this prophecy that says if they cook and eat him, they're going to regain their long-lost wisdom, and be able to do all, and be able to rule Sisiva. You see, so whether or not the boy is actually dreaming, that's for you to imagine.
To find out, yes. And tell us about Sisiva. I mean, we know that there are lots of insects and monsters and bees, and describe it to us in terms of, what it would look like aesthetically, just like The Wizard of Oz, for example.
Yeah, as I said before, I was inspired by books like The Wizard of Oz, books like Pinocchio, books like Alice in Wonderland. So Sisiva is really just a world, a fairy world, just a world where, I just wanted children to enjoy, you see. So a world where all sorts of, terrible, fantastic, humorous things happen. Flies rule it like we human beings here. I just wanted to reflect our world here, just, the greed, all sorts of terrible things, the wars in our world, empty wars as we are having in our world.
And in as much as your offering is a fantasy fiction, I'm pretty sure that there are lessons that people who read this book will obviously walk away with. I know that for me, I could take away something from the relationship that Jimmy has with his grandmother. What other lessons do you think are in store?
Well, I don't really write to teach people this and that. When I write a book, I expect people to enjoy it. I write fiction to entertain, you see. But then, of course, if someone reads a book, they're going to take away something naturally, you see. So that was my angle, writing Jimmy and the Giant Insects. First and foremost, you have to enjoy the book, and then you yourself, as someone who is living on this world, then of course you have got your own experiences, so you're going to see yourself in the book, and then of course you're going to take away something. But there is nothing that I'm detecting in the book that I'm saying, okay, this is right, this isn't right. You have to do things this way. You don't have to do things that way.
And what lessons do you walk away with in writing the actual book?
Well, I feel fulfilled. I mean, writing is very, very much fulfilling. You know, we live a lonely life, a solitary life. So, and then when you can actually create something like a book, after finishing writing a book, you feel like you've given birth to something so big, something so great, you know. So that's what I enjoy about writing. That's the lesson that I get from writing, you know, fulfillment.
All right, very quickly, where can people get Jimmy and the Giants?
At the moment, it's only available with me. This is a self-published book, you know. I did everything by myself. I wrote it, I edited it, I copy-edited it, and then I sent proofread a copy to the editor. So I don't have anyone, you know, I haven't submitted it to the booksellers or anyone.
Well, I think you need to do so because, as you said yourself, there's a shortage of fantasy fiction in South Africa, and young people need to be reading that book.
Yeah, but then I tried to submit my manuscript to publishers here in South Africa. Most big-name publishers here don't publish fantasy. I don't know. I feel that it's really, really not cool. But then that's just the fact. You know, you go to the website of publishers like NP Publishers. They stated explicitly clear that they don't publish children's fantasy books. They do publish children's books, but they don't publish fantasy.
Well, I hope that you have opened a new market for South Africa. Thank you so much for coming, Bongani, and all the best with your book. That was novelist and short story writer Bongani Blake, and he was speaking to us about his latest offering titled Jimmy and the Giant Insects. Well, you can also join us for our viewer book review slot to talk about some of your favorite books. All you have to do is send us an email, an Instagram note, Facebook, or a tweet with a picture and relevant caption of the books you're currently reading or have read. You can send them using our social media platforms. We are at Morning Live SABC on Twitter. Facebook is Morning Live SABC, and that's on Instagram as well. But you're more than welcome to email us morninglive@sabc.co.za.